Adversity, bring it. The struggle, we welcome it. Snooze on life, never that. We are Dave Regina and Mike Pirelli, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 136. I'm in the booth with the big three. Michael, the show Pirelli.
Grab your popcorn.
Claudio, the voice, Valenzuela. And I am Dave, the body, Regina. I'm trying to figure out the weather in New York because just a couple days ago, it was the coldest day of the year. It was like negative something, right? It felt the wind chill was negative something.
Yes,
I have a funny story about my gazebo going bye-bye. And then today, it's like a nice sunny 50-degree day.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's kind of like our life. Right?
Well said.
Great
Well
analogy
said.
for life.
I mean, I was telling you guys a little bit, but my money tree, which is supposed to be a good omen for deals and like being prosperous, got delivered when it was 0 degrees out. So it sat in my driveway for 10 hours. When I got home, I grabbed it. I ran it upstairs like it was like I was trying to bring it back to life.
Yep.
Took it out of the box, posted a picture. I've never gotten so many people laughing back to me.
Listen, and you know I'm always supportive of you, but there's times that I want to bust your chops.
You should have.
Yeah, but then I felt stupid because I'm like, wait,
Is
it's
that what it's
obviously supposed to look like that if he just bought this money tree. So I didn't want to look dumb and be like, Mike, but why is it dead?
I'll be honest. When I pulled it out, I'm like, maybe this is the way it's supposed to look. And then after I posted, I put it together. That's not how it's supposed to look, and it was dead.
I thought it was a droopy, you know those droopy trees that hang?
It was pretty droopy. It was like a willow.
Yeah, yes.
So here's an update. I worked all day. I watered it. I wasn't overwatering because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to put southern exposure. I really did my homework here.
Southern exposure?
Southern exposure, so indirect sunlight.
I don't think the south of Greenwich is the south.
South. It's pretty south. Long story short, we have 0 leaves left. But the root is still intact, so
Okay.
I'm going to try to bring it back to life.
All right.
Because everyone loves a comeback story,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And Deals, the money tree, is going to have a long, long run with me. And when I move to my building on Greenwich Avenue in the future,
That's right.
he's going to be the first one that goes in.
I like
And
it.
that's going to be a FU to all the botanists that are reaching out to me, criticizing me. A lot of people are helpful, but some doubting me.
See?
And part of it is my whole push this year to say I have no limits. I've told myself forever, and I make jokes to clients, I don't have a green thumb. I make jokes to clients, I'm not handy. I'm putting a money tree back into its limelight, and I'm building an effing fence, which the ground also froze. So I didn't get the second post in yet. But the first post is perfect.
Perfect. Beautiful.
So how's your
I'm with
how's
you.
your fight with the
I'm with
weather?
you.
been going?
It's ironic because the last episode we recorded was about patience, right? Literally the very next day, I go to the doctor for my Remicade treatment,
okay.
and I get there 8:30, nice and early. Got there like 8:27. I look around and nobody's in there.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, this is great. So I say to the nurse practitioner, I'm like, oh, I rented out the spot. Like it's for myself. Usually I got my chemo patients that are with me because it's basically a chemo center, and we all sit and get our infusions. So
Are they?
she's
sorry
like,
to
go
make
ahead,
this
go
joke,
ahead.
but
No,
are they
no.
looking at you and they're like, "Can I get whatever this guy has?"
yes. A lot
Like,
of
what
people
does
do.
this guy have?
A lot of people do that. But I told you, I'm also in full remission, been in full remission.
Yeah.
They're keeping me on a very low dose of the Remicade. I used to be on like 500 milligrams. Now I'm all the way down to like 80 miggies. So it's
Is that a
it's
lot?
good. No, a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. But they need it just to stay in my system. So she's like, well, listen, we let you in at 8:30, but like everyone else is not coming till 9. So I'm like, beautiful. Like, let's get this thing in my arm. Let's get going. It's still a long process. It's an IV. It takes about an hour and a half.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's time consuming, but good spirits. So like 9 o'clock, I'm like, oh, there's still nothing here. 9:15, she comes and she puts the IV in my arm.
yeah.
But there's a second piece to it because typically what has to happen is the morning of, they have to tell the doctor, okay, Dave Regina's here, Mike Pirelli's here, whatever it is, send the medication upstairs. So they send the medication upstairs and then they put that into the bag with the IV,
Yeah.
and that's how you get your flow. So she comes back at like 9:30 now, so this is an hour wait time. Other people are now in here. And still no medication. So she's
So
like,
you're just sitting there with a needle in your arm.
yes,
Nothing going in it.
correct.
I'd lose my mind.
Literally.
Yeah.
And then you start like thinking about it, you're like, it kind of hurts, but it doesn't, but it's weird. I got to go to the bathroom. Like it's just weird. So other people are starting to get
get there, and they're getting a little impatient too because now everyone's kind of hooked up with no medication. And she's like, listen, I know this is taking a long time. I'm like, sweetie, it's not your fault. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
But tell them I'm from the Nose News podcast and hurry up.
Right. Like, let's go. I don't have all day. So 10 o'clock, she comes back and she's like, Dave, I'm so sorry. Now people are starting to flip out though. Like people are like, where the F is my medication? Blah, blah. And I'm sitting back and I'm like, I feel you.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not like really losing it. 10:30, she finally comes and she's like, Dave, I have your medication. But like she didn't have everybody's medication. But they knew we were all on the same team that I was there first, and I finally get my meds.
It's different medication, right?
Yeah. They have chemo.
Like you're not taking their medication.
Correct. No.
Yeah.
So she gets it.
I would have been like, it's not yours.
She gets it, and she's like, listen, I just have to take your blood pressure because we made you wait, and like we don't want your stress to be up. So I'm like, oh boy, but I'm really like handling this well, I thought.
Yeah.
So she takes my blood pressure, and I did my box breathing. I swear, probably like 6 to 10 different times I had to do it because I felt myself rising. Because you're sitting there now 2 hours with a needle with no medication.
Your boy would have got up and left.
That's what people did, though. People started doing that.
Yeah.
So then she takes my blood pressure. She's like, oh, good. Boom. Good to go. She went around to everybody else, and their blood pressure was so high that they had to then wait another hour for their pressure to come down. But the point is, I succeeded with the patients and the box breathing. And it was something that I felt like it was a test, but it was only because we had that conversation and I was aware of like exactly what was going on, because if not, I would have lost my ish. I had to cancel appointments. So I said to her, I'm like, listen, I'm not upset at you. I'm upset at the situation though, because like I had to cancel some appointments at work. She's like, no, don't worry. I'll write you a letter. I'm like, it's not about the letter. Like, I'm not like punching a clock. I got to be there at a certain time, but it was the inconvenience. And then in my head, I'm like, oh my God, now I got to make up this appointment. I'm seeing emails go through. And like, it was a lot of anxiety in a moment that I would have definitely lost it and left. But I was like, I'm going to be the only one that's screwed out of this in the long run. So I handled it well.
So to add, incredible, by the way.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
You're a better man than me. I would have left. Especially if they stuck me in the arm and didn't bring anything.
For 2 hours, bro.
I hate to reiterate this joke, but like, I can't imagine like some poor person who's going through chemo and stuff, and then they see you and they're like, this guy's getting some type of treatment, yet his beard is as full as I've ever seen it. He's got muscles on muscles, and I'm over here. If I was a patient there, I'd be like, can I not be next to this guy?
Yes.
But that's awesome. I mean, that's great. A quick patient success story, which I'll add, is we had a deal on a property. The agent, not to their fault, but their client kind of changed gears on us. And after we set up inspections and whatnot, they backed out. And I talked about previously how I've really worked on not getting emotional in that moment and not giving attitude to the agent, because I've been on both sides. And I realize sometimes it's really not your fault.
Yes.
It's just your client changing their mind, which happens. It's an emotional transaction. So I basically told her, I said, listen, you're a pleasure to work with. If anything happens and your deal goes sideways, we'd love to work with you. I have to take my clientele elsewhere because it's in their best interest not to get tied up in the muddy situation, which you are handling well. Like, I was very complimentary and very like calm about the whole situation. I think she appreciated it. She was like on the verge of tears because she felt bad. Wow. So long story short, 2-3 weeks pass. We lost another highest and best situation. And then I got a call from the other agent of the deal we originally had, basically saying, "Hey, this other deal fell through. My clients wanted to bring it back to the open market, but I know it's going to be a tricky deal, and I like you, and I think we'll be able to work well together and not get emotional about what happens and really get the deal done. So if you guys want it, it's yours." And I'm like, oh, look at that! Like, things are turning a little bit.
Came back.
So deal's the money tree. Yep. Although he doesn't have any leaves, might still be working over there.
There you go.
Beautiful. Maybe he's just cutting a 10 before he bulks up again.
Well done.
But yeah, it's good. It's weird how it's probably one of those situations, if like you want a Tesla, you start seeing Teslas. It might be one of those situations where we talk about a topic and then it just so happens to rear its head and we're acknowledging it.
And beautiful. You know how life works though. So I had one success and I had one failure.
Would you punch the doctor?
No, not to do with the doctor. So Matty Reg had his engagement party where the families met for the very first time.
He looks like you now. I don't know. Do you realize that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because he's filling out a little bit, and this it's literally looking like a twin.
No, so it was beautiful. Chris and Tony's out in Long Island. Food was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, the spread was out of control.
Tell Matt thanks for the invite. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
Well, that was a thing too.
I'm joking.
No, but seriously. So my dad, he called me. He's like, buddy, what kind of engagement party? I don't know what, is family invited or friends invited?
You do a good
but
impression of
all it was literally
Buddy.
just the two families
yeah.
getting together and meeting for like the first time all together.
Nice.
Because we met individually. Great time. But so I'm on the way. Callie and I driving. No. Fast forward. Back up a little bit. I wanted to time this thing to where Callie could nap in the car because I'm like, really long ride out to Long Island, perfect opportunity. She's gonna sleep, and then I'm gonna wake up as soon as I get there. It's gonna
Little
be perfect.
Joel
It's gonna be
Osteen.
perfect. I'm listening to Joel, the big guy upstairs. Things are gonna be great. No, not how it happened. So an hour before we leave, she falls asleep in the house.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, all right, this is going to be a squeeze, though, to get to Long Island on time.
Yeah.
So she naps. She wakes up in a horrendous mood. Horrendous to the point that she's crying, and then she's crying, and then she starts coughing, and then the barf comes.
Oh.
So then she throws up everywhere. Get her dressed, clean her off. Now we're on our way. And mind you, I'm singing some lullabies to her, trying to make her happy. We're going to see Uncle Matty and Gigi. It's going to be a great time.
Dude.
She's like, no, I don't want to see anybody. The dramatics begin. Then the nose starts bleeding in the car.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the nose just starts bleeding out of nowhere. The chick never had a nosebleed in her entire life. What 2.5-year-old? What 2.5-year-old?
Callie is a chick.
Just starts bleeding out of the nose on the nice white shirt that we had. And I didn't bring a change of clothes in terms of a nice change of clothes. I brought like her pajamas. Right, so I'm like, oh, this is fucking atrocious. Like,
so
whatever.
Was she wearing what you changed her into at the wedding or the whatever they
Oh
call that?
yeah, no. So
Because I saw that and I'm like, something happened.
no, pull over. Really scrub the shirt. End up getting the blood out, but I lost patience. Called my father. Dad, I'm stopping at your house. You're gonna drive to Long Island. I need 2 beers ready to go as soon as I pull up.
Yep.
So I was very impatient, but I ended up making sure that Callie was okay.
Did you
But
yell at her?
I don't. No, I did not because
All right,
when she
you
was
succeeded.
when she was bleeding,
Right?
I felt a little bad, but in my head I was like, I've never seen a nosebleed in 2 years. Like, what? Why is your nose bleeding?
Murphy's Law is like so apparent with kids.
I don't even know. I mean, it was odd. It was very odd.
Yeah.
But it was a test of patience. So I handled it with a nice. Dad had the Mick Ultra, which is low carb. So I had
Hell
2 of
yeah.
those on the way, and
The
I felt
body.
felt
At it
better.
again.
I felt a
Little
little
Cal
better.
guy over here.
I posted that video of Dad when I was wearing the mink. That was pretty
Yes.
funny, though,
It's
right?
very.
I told you.
Yes, I like that one. The others, terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
He said they're atrocious. They're
Atrocious.
They're
atrocious.
awful.
Yeah.
They're awful. He said, "I am so embarrassed of you when you wear that."
I love it.
when you wear that.
I have a theory that when you're going to an event where you want to unwind a little bit, that's when it all happens. When there's like something and you see the hope and you're like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
We're going to this little event. They get sick, something happens, you cancel your plans, or you have a nightmare getting there.
Yeah.
And by the time you get there, you really need to drink even more, but you're so stressed.
I was close to just saying,
Yeah.
"Good luck, buddy."
Yeah. Hope you have a good day.
I'm not coming, but I didn't do that.
The
Didn't do
only
that.
saving grace is that people understand and they're like, yeah, we know. Like,
Sometimes, and if
Most
they don't
people
have kids,
understand.
though, then they
and if
don't.
not, you show them. You're like, look at her. There's blood all over. Like, you keep her the way that she is so you
Right.
can show her to someone. Because sometimes it's not easy to tell people, but when you show
When
them,
you
they're
show
like,
'em.
I get it. You know?
yeah, just stay over there with the blood and
Yeah.
the throw up. It's fine.
Keep
It's all
it
good.
there and say, like, listen, you're going to have to sit in this stuff because
Yes.
we got to show
Oh
Uncle
my
Matt why we're late.
Oh man! All right, so let's stop drinking beers. Let's drink this protein. CV, let them know where we get this protein at.
We wanted to take a quick second to let you guys know that we partnered with our good friends over at Orgain.com. We're happy to offer our listeners 30% off by entering the code NOSNOOZE30. Again, that's NOSNOOZE30 for 30% off your first order. If you're on the market for a new protein powder, nutritional shake, protein bar, or Mike's favorite, collagen peptides, Orgain is your one-stop shop. As all of you know, my Crohn's disease is currently in remission, and the only protein I use is from Orgain. My personal favorites are the chocolate peanut butter and the vanilla bean. With the code, you can try a 2-pound tub for under $20. Talk about not snoozing. Go get yours today. Now, back to the Epi.
All right, so today we're going to talk about how to influence people. I think everything that we do in our life, it really comes down to the ability to influence. I mean, if you think about it, whether you're in sales and you're a real estate agent, like my good friend here, Michael, the show Pirelli, mpgre.co, go follow, right? You like
Drop a follow.
You like the plug?
But more importantly, buy a house.
That's right. Any sort of sales, if you're even a teacher, right? Your ability to influence your classroom, if you're a coach, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, and it doesn't matter the level of leadership that you're in. The goal is to have an ability or find the ability to learn how to almost persuade people, right? It's funny, though, as I was thinking about the term influence, it's almost like a healthy manipulation, if you will.
Yeah, it can be used in a lot of ways.
Right? Absolutely. But I think influencing others is about working efficiently and effectively together, regardless of any one person's status, right? Okay. Like, I feel that I, even at work, am influenced by individuals around me, even if they might be a part-time employee and not even on a full-time level, okay. Right? So I don't want this conversation to really be about, you can only influence if you're at a certain level, right? So what I did was I basically took the things that I believe in my life that I try to apply when it comes to the ability to influence individuals.
I can say right off the bat, every time I lift a weight, you influence me to lift more weights.
Really?
100%.
Why is that?
Because I know I have to post it now. And if I post it and it's not as impressive, I'll be like, Dave's just going to... Even if I hit the triple donut, he's not going to be impressed.
You know what? I almost did a post with Davy Donuts, and then I was going to question where's Mikey Munchkins, but I didn't.
That's pretty good.
I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was a little,
Some of your best lines. I love that stuff. I don't know why you don't rip that. That's incredible. Mikey Munchkins is like one of the funniest nicknames I've ever heard. But yeah, fake weights are one thing. If you want to show that,
that's true. Level Fitness fake weights.
Fake weights is level. I actually wrote him a letter. I said, I don't think it's nice how you give your people weights that say 45, but it's really 25 to make them feel good. That's right. Not cool. Come to Bar Miguel, show you real weights.
Right. So have you ever thought about, though, even just in sales, right, as a lot of real estate is, have you ever thought about your skill set in terms of having the ability to influence anybody?
The thing that I'm conscious of now more than anything is the food brand, because that influence is like instant. So, like, I really think through, like, I don't want to hurt any businesses. Like, I'm doing it to promote and help people. And I've actually been more conscious of my ability in that arena to hurt a business and being very specific and, like, careful not to. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, yeah. It's not that I feel like I have a lot of leverage in that world, but I realize people kind of look to me now, at least locally, like, to where to support and put some dollars. So I'm trying to be very conscious of, like, would this help this business? Mm-hmm. Am I putting them in a good light? My intention, I'm really more aware of the intention behind influencing, at least in the food brand. The real estate's a little different because everything I do, I try to have a positive spin, right? I never want to influence people to have a negative reaction to something and, like, F that house or that house is terrible.
Yep.
My approach now really has morphed into more of, like, give people the info and give your personal opinion, but it's up to them to make the decision. So my influence is really more on a informational level of, like, I'm influencing you by giving you all the data, right? If you didn't know that this house couldn't rent for $5,000 a month, maybe you wouldn't be influenced to buy it. But I'm not actually pushing them across the finish line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Which is a different approach, because I definitely know some that push a little harder and influence people, which is a different style, which is fine. It's not wrong, but, like, you need to buy this like very clear cut with things, where I take a little more of it's your decision. I'm just here to help you make the best one.
The best one for you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, social media is a different beast when it comes to influence.
And, like, I know you have influence in all your arenas, but have you seen where, like, have you been surprised by some of your influence in the past?
You know where I actually get surprised? And this is a realization I think that I'm coming to now. The things that I look at as very natural in my life. So, me posting videos with Callie, it's effortless. It's I'm in the moment. I'm just there. I post it. I don't think about it. And even in fitness with the gym, it's a habit of mine that is so ingrained that I don't even think about these things. The most influence that I have is in regards to those two lanes. And then obviously at work professionally, like as a leader, I think there's influence there. But that's I try to do that intentionally, right? The other two things, I find that might be the gold, right? When people are trying to find what they're good at, you really just have to look at what you do naturally. But I have found that, those videos of Callie or me in the gym is influential, I guess, to people and their reactions that come back to me, which was a big realization, because even with like the podcast stuff, I feel like I'll spend so much time, prepping a post of something that's something great that you said, something good that I said. But it doesn't have the same effect as me just taking zero effort and posting it in the natural moment, which is, I don't know, it messes with your head a little bit,
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like being the authentic, the best way to influence is like just to be authentic, which is corny to say and cliche, but being authentic, but also showing some type of action. I found specifically, like if I post about a property or post about a restaurant, the effect is a lot less than if I actually go view the property, walk around it, or actually go eat an item at a restaurant. So like there's a subtle difference there where a lot of people just kind of post things with an opinion versus an action.
Right.
And then I found like Dana and Livy have been going to church on Sundays. And, I work usually, or I'm with Juliana, and it's just to have two kids and like get them in there. It's just kind of a nightmare. But Dana has influenced her by saying, oh, well, mommy's going. Do you want to come? And then now I'm finding myself to be like, well, I want to be a part of that day, where yes, it'd be inconvenient, but she's influencing me just by doing the action,
right?
Where I kind of want to be a part of it. Whereas if she's like, do you want to come, is a lot less effective versus her just going,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Kids are incredible when it comes to influence, because the negative behavior has an influence on them. But then also the positive behavior that we as parents or, aunts, uncles, grandparents, put and bestow in the kids, they start to act that way, and so it's a direct reflection. Sometimes your influence it doesn't directly correlate, but with the kids, it's very nice to see. As I was thinking about this, though, I thought about the thing that I struggled with the most to really, I think, make me a decent person of influence, and it's very cliche, but it's being present in the actual moment, right? And learning how to connect with individuals. For a long time, I still have so many thoughts in my head, and we spoke about this before on this podcast, but when I'm in conversation with somebody, specifically at work, I try to make it a point to be locked in to that conversation. Something that I think it was Dale Carnegie who wrote this incredible book literally 80 freaking years ago. Pat Scanlon, my college coach, put me on. It's literally called How to Influence Others. Read it a long time ago, but it's still very relevant today. And there was a statistic in there that was basically like every conversation that you have with somebody, and Mike is going to laugh because I think he's the opposite with me as well. You should be listening 75% of the time and talking only 25% of the time. I think I might be reversed in that, but when it comes to work specifically, and I have the meetings to influence others and help others out, I make sure that I stick to that statistic, and I'm very conscious of it. And if I feel like I'm talking a little bit too much, I kind of just back up and learn to listen. But when people can connect to you emotionally, and if you're looking to get better with this, that's the key. You have to figure out somebody else's emotion, right? What's going on deep inside them that will then allow you to connect with that person.
It's very well said. There's your 80% right there.
There you go.
No, but so I've been thinking a lot lately about being influenced because I realize I can be pretty easily in certain arenas where I'm not as passionate. In areas that I'm passionate, I can't be influenced. I can be, but it's very hard to change my philosophy on things, right?
Yep.
Certain things. But like, I'm getting influenced about like building things and doing this handyman work. And I'm finding that when I connect with the person and understand like the person and their success within that field, I get inspired to change based on their success and like what they've built lifestyle wise, right? So that's been like a different feeling that I've had towards certain things. And then in general, I'm trying to be more of a student because I I've given some advice in the past. It's been people have asked for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when people don't ask for it, I'm just kind of like beating my head against a wall, and I'm like, why even? I want to help people if they ask, but ultimately, like, if we have a meeting and you want to talk more, I'd love to hear about what you got going on, because ultimately, like, it doesn't matter to me. I can, anyone can influence you in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even the worst people in the world, they did something that they're probably better than you at.
Right.
And that's kind of why I'm obsessed with, like, the UFC, because, like, a lot of times there's these world-class athletes that are at the top of their game, and they bring in specialists to dial in on a certain skill set that they aren't as good as that one person. In a regular fight, they'd kick their ass. But just in that one little segment of the MMA world and mixed martial arts, they are beaten out by this person, and they don't have the ego to, like, say, all right, well, let's do a regular fight. They focus on their weakness and let the person beat them up. It's like the Kobe approach. He played with his left hand.
Yep.
One summer just to get better at his left.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I think that is probably the biggest characteristic that takes people to the next level. You know, when people, stoicism, he said, like, when you think you know it all, you can't learn. Or there's like a quote that talks about that. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because I know for myself, I get in a situation where I think I know more than I do, and I'm less coachable. And I'm trying to just take the approach of, like, I have so much to learn that anyone at any time can give me something that could be life-changing. So definitely try to listen more. And it's hard because I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of opinions on things, but I'm enjoying more of hearing people's stories and then trying to, like, figure them out, you know, because no one's figuring me out. Not in one meeting, right?
True. Yeah,
no one's figuring
absolutely.
you out in one meeting. No one's figuring out you in one meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a definitely change of a thought process.
Yeah. And you said a word, and it was coachable. And for me, in my life, if I'm thinking about the individuals who have the most influence on me, I would say, you know, my therapist for sure. And then I'm thinking of, like, my dad and their ability to educate and encourage is something that I strive for in my own life, right? When somebody has knowledge and can break things down to you and teach you certain things on why maybe the thing that you're doing right now is not the best way, and they're genuinely coming at you with something encouraging but backed by a teaching method, I'm finding that I really enjoy that for my own life and my own, I guess, ability to attempt to level up. My father is very good at this, because he'll talk to me about, you know, how he thinks I should be handling certain things. But then he'll also say, listen, man, I am just so proud of you. You know, at this age, like, it's very impressive what you're able to do. And that's something so little like that I don't hear all the time, because I'm not talking to myself that way.
Yeah.
My therapist, the same thing, right? His ability to teach me certain things and then break it down to me to say, listen, the habits that you're doing, I notice certain tendencies in your relationships that are negative habits, right? So you have to change this because of backed by factual XYZ, right? And I think I do that to certain individuals. I helped a lot of people lose a lot of weight over the years, specifically when I was a trainer, right? And you know a lot of these individuals as well, but
Frank Pirelli.
no,
Frankie Freshco.
Frankie yes. Okay, your dad. I thought you were
not my
talking about-
brother. No, he's got no weight to lose.
But think about that. Like, you know, that journey for somebody, you're never going to take somebody's advice if that person is not encouraging, right? If you're just discouraging someone, you're a fat piece of shit, like, you know, you're never going to get in shape, but here's a workout for you.
That would encourage me.
It's like, okay, like, you might have some, you know, stomach fat to lose here, but, like, your calves are really good. I know you've never heard that before, but but it's it's definitely a skill set. And really, just to recap it, it's the ability to educate somebody, but then also encourage somebody while they're in the approach.
So, do you find challenge in learning from or being influenced by people that are A, younger than you, and B, like, in a different part of their life with different circumstances? Because I know I'm a hypocrite. I have a hard time. I have more of a competitive approach to those types of people, where I'm like, oh, like, especially if they're doing better, I'll be like, oh, they had this, they had that. I make all these excuses versus just kind of listen to what they got going on, be like, oh, they're doing that right, kind of not discrediting people anymore, and just more like seeing what they're doing and being like, it is what it is. And there's a thought of like,
Did you want me to answer the question or no?
yeah. But I'm giving you my
I'm
thought.
Go ahead. I'm listening to you. Go ahead, talk to me. 75% listening. Over here.
Give me the 80. The like when you discredit people or just like say like, oh, I'm just gonna be competitive against them. I don't think it's a bad thing, but you also have to be like less egotistical about like, well, they're doing something right. Yeah. That thought has been something that I've been replaying. Even people I dislike in the industry that are doing well, that I'm like, I don't get it. I'm starting to look and be like, well, they do this really well. They might be out of their mind, but they're doing something right because this is, I'm talking, it's hard.
So yeah, I mean, to answer the question about the younger thing, for me at work in my specific world, at this point, it's hard to find somebody younger than me in a higher position.
Yeah. So younger
right?
in a lower position.
Right. So I actually, I don't believe that I look at somebody younger and automatically think, oh, you're younger than me, you don't know what you're talking about. We just hired a couple individuals who are definitely younger that we really, as a team, lean on for some influence.
Yeah.
Right? Their influence in the community, their influence over their knowledge of today's world, right? Something that I cannot relate to. But I used to a lot try to find comparison when I saw somebody doing better than me. Mm-hmm. And I would say the same things that you're saying. And I would articulate in my head, well, this person got this, or this person, they paid for this to get to the top. The reality is, and this is something that I'm coming to, and I truly believe this, if anybody is at that high level and can sustain that over time, they got it. Like there's something, you can hate all you want. And I'm not saying that I don't secretly hate from time to time, because that's just not realistic to say, because I definitely do that. But I am very aware of the concept of hard work and discipline and consistency and the ability to influence. And the most successful people really have the culmination of everything. And it's something that I think we're all just working towards. But I think now in 2023, my ability to understand that is much better than Dave Regina a couple of years ago.
100%.
So I'm actually happy to see people succeed. You never really want to see somebody doing better than you per se, but I'm genuinely happy for the people in my circle that make more money than me, that are doing more than I'm doing.
Yeah.
So there's not a little level of jealousy, because there is.
Yeah.
But it's competitive jealousy. It's good.
So the way I've been combating that is like, would I trade my life for them, their life, right, and lose the time or go back in time,
right?
And 99 out of 100. I mean, yeah. If you said, hey, you want to be, whatever your dream thing is, maybe, right? Maybe you think about it for a second, but most of the time you would say no. And that brings me back to like, I'm building my lifestyle how I want, and I've chosen specific things to do it that way. So I can't go to this other person and then criticize them for doing it another way. And then you're measuring apples to apples when it's not.
Right.
It's an orange and an apple, or whatever you want to call it. You're probably a banana to an apple.
But just because my nose is shaped like a banana and it's crooked doesn't mean
didn't
that,
think about
you know what I'm saying?
So it's hard though. Right off the bat, even like a little kid, they're doing something cool and like selling something, and you just kind of like think, oh, you don't know anything, because you just discredit them. And I remember feeling, I still feel that way sometimes, where I don't get my respect in a sense of like people take me seriously on things because of my age, and I use it as a crutch sometimes. Sometimes it's for real.
Yep.
And I get frustrated with myself when I do that to other people, even in my mind. Even when I think that way, I'm like, I hate that, so why am I projecting that on like someone else?
Right.
But it's a constant struggle, all of it.
Yeah. Something I read in that book
Did I rip my jacket?
that I'm very conscious of at work, and some people they don't understand this concept, because at times it can seem a little bit foo-foo, but I think the concept of learning how to praise a lot but genuinely is huge when it comes to influence, right? There's people in this world that are very tough. Like, my grandfather was a very tough dude. He had a lot of influence on me, but didn't really give me the praise in the moment. He was more of like, oh, I challenged you. I knew you were going to do it.
Yeah.
But I actually have the opposite approach because I remember always trying to seek that approval. So it's specifically at work, whenever somebody does something good, I try to give praise, but I try to make sure that it's in a genuine way, where some people take it like, oh, you're telling them, they did a great job for showing up 30 days in a row. It's like, yeah, because they have a lot of other things going on in their life and their ability to come and not use time, So it's just all about different perspective. Now take that a step further, and I think it's having the ability to minimize people's faults and then encourage their improvements. There's a lot of leaders, doesn't matter what level you're at in terms of leadership, that we highlight our individuals' faults, right? If somebody's working for you, you're very, very quick to jump on them for the little thing that they did versus encouraging the improvement, saying, hey, listen, I've seen growth in this aspect to here, but now for the next month, I think it's a really good challenge for us to get to this next level, right? And that's a concept though a lot of people I think struggle with, and I've been trying to master that skill, because I think there's always room for improvement. But if somebody's not feeling encouraged, they're never gonna take your influence, right? And the goal of influence is to be able to have the ability to basically change somebody's thought process or mind in the moment to agree with what it is for your own vision. Right? But it's something at work I see all the time. And if we constantly focus on these faults, you're making them only see negative. And I think that directly takes away from any potential motivation to succeed. Mm-hmm. So just something that I'm conscious of as I was thinking about this.
So it's kind of like a Batman approach, but the responsibility of having influence is really important. Mm-hmm. And I've found that I'm aligning with causes and things that I feel like I have to support because I believe in them, and I don't need to support everything, but things that I actually want to contribute to. I think you kind of, with all the positive ability to influence for your personal gain, like to be able to influence and give back just because has been really nice. Mm-hmm. Not even a dollar amount, just an awareness amount. And that's been something that I've been really enjoying a little more than I thought I would, because I'm very focused on building this thing and doing this thing for my personal gain, but then to have the ability to positively influence and give the childhood cancer research awareness thing, that hits so close to home now. Mm-hmm. Not that we're dealing with it specifically, but I see it constantly, and we have people that we know that are dealing with it. Yep. And just being I really do think that it's a cause that I believe in, so I have the responsibility to, when I can, contribute in some form. So that whole responsibility, in addition to having kids now, I really think about, I'm responsible to kind of live in a way that even if I don't say anything to them, they could look back and say, all right, that was a model that I would like to. Kids get attached to more what you do than what you say, and I've even found certain things that I've done around the house where it's not good. And I'm like, oh, it's not good. I've been on my phone. And then I see her on her phone. Yeah. Even though it's a part of our job, we got to do it. Of course. It's definitely a little a little mirror constantly, which has been tough to take because it's things that we've been trying to change that we can't or we haven't yet and we're still working on. But with kids, there's no filter. So it's or even this morning I was on my phone and I don't even know if I was doing anything productive. Maybe I was. But her Daddy, look at me. I want to play. Daddy, look at me. That hits. Because you're oh.
Yeah, they do that a lot, too. And Callie's way of doing it is she starts wiling out. Mm-hmm. If she's not getting the attention and she sees me on the phone a couple times after she literally starts screaming and running around crazy. Yeah. But it's very smart. I mean, it's very smart in her 2-year-old brain because she's getting then what she wants. And then I realize, oh, wow, I got to go spend time with her because this is her way of expressing, wow, I need Dally right now,
And that's the little influencers are important.
The little influencers.
That's something to think about too. Is in general, you're always constantly getting influenced, and something to think about is what kind of influence do you want to be taken in? What kind of input is coming in? Because everyone has a good willpower and bandwidth, but at a certain point, it just gets overrun. And I found that with myself. When my bandwidth is shot, I'll hop on TikTok and just consume crap because I'm that's. I don't know. I got nothing left.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know the answers to all this. We're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And we're trying to listen more too, right?
Is there
75%
something?
listening?
I'm going to ask you
Go
a
ahead.
question unless you
Go ahead,
answer.
talk to me.
Is there something that you wish you had more influence in? It's a good question.
That I wish I had more influence
Like
in.
an arena, like part of your life.
I wish you know what? And I'm relating this back to my interests. The cigar game.
Exactly what I was thinking.
On a real so again, I believe there's a level of influence that I have by, I'll post a cigar, people hit me up like, hey, I'm getting into the cigar game, like what's your recommendation? So clearly there's influence there, but I wish I had the ability, or I took the leap to do it strategically and intentionally and then benefit from it in some way, if that makes sense, selfishly.
So I think it's a very
Right?
easy path if you want to do it.
If you want to do
because
it,
you're
right?
already doing it.
But it's the time that it takes to
Is it
to
though?
do
You already
that.
do it.
I do, but it's more time.
very high level.
See me shaking his head.
But when we first started No Snooze Podcast,
Yeah.
that was a comment I think we both made at one point. We are like, it's gonna be you're gonna get lined up with like a big cigar company and be like the face. We've said that from the beginning.
I mean, Davidoff. My name is David. It just makes sense. Might as well.
Davidoff's
I got
phenomenal. I
good
watch all
beard,
the
you know?
reviews in
Right.
London. They do.
Yeah, no. So that's something I crystal ball. If you gave me, and not that it's not attainable, it is,
Yeah.
but that definitely then takes away from something else that I do.
So
I
my-
like the cigar game now because I do it effortlessly. I don't put any thought process. I hold the cigar up. I happen to have nice hands for a man. Take a picture. I got the little rollie in the background, and boom, there's a nice wood wall, and that's it.
So something you influenced me on is not only the cigar game and enjoying that whole process and the meditation aspect of it. I actually really do love it now, but also the focus on a certain like hobby. I've realized that I like a lot of things, but if I really want to enjoy one, I kind of have to dive deeper.
Dive in, yeah.
And you dive so deep into the cigar game that I feel like you get a lot more enjoyment per hour
Yeah.
while doing the cigar game.
It's funny you say that now, and I'm just connecting something. So I believe that there's been two specific things that have happened in my life recently that I'm like, wow, man, like there's really proof in the influence that we're putting out. So one of my best mentors, coaches growing up was this guy, Mike Little, right? And
Great names.
yes,
I
he's
have
actually
no
Silas's,
mentors with these names.
Silas's brother, Silas Red's brother.
Silas Red. You keep throwing great names out. Come on, give me another one. They sound like superheroes.
So this was in high school, and I looked up to Mike Little, man. He would be the one that was like just the coolest. He was probably in his 20s at the time when maybe I was 17, 18. So he was a young coach, but he was diesel. He had the body, he had the girls, he had the jump shot. He could still beat us whenever he wanted, but he had the mental too.
Good Cavs.
Great calves. Great athlete, though,
Good
all
in my
around.
book.
But would be the only one that I would really listen to. He would have the ability to pull me aside and say, listen, Dave, you're screwing up right now. Like, you need to get your ish right. Because I felt like he was living that lifestyle, right? The other day, I saw Mike repost one of my videos. And it was something that we were talking about on the podcast. And
Okay, go out. No.
so I forget what the specific topic was. But so I wrote to him. I said, wow, Mike, like, miss you. Thank you for everything that you've done. And this is a big moment for me because I've always, looked up to you. I can't believe you're posting something that I would say. And he said, man, what you guys are doing with that podcast is incredible. I actually lean on you guys for motivation. I was like, wow.
Did he specify which one?
So I think he was talking about you.
I'm just
So that was one moment that I was like, wow, like this is real stuff.
Pretty cool.
The other thing is Nick Arbab,
Oh my God.
right? Papa Poops.
He's one of my favorite people probably in the world.
He's one of the most interesting men in the world. 100%.
And just a good dude.
Yes, great dude. He's the one that I started smoking cigars with back in 2011 and 12.
That was the morning cigars with the coffees, Dave.
Yes,
That
exactly.
was a whole nother level.
Right, but now you're talking a decade ago.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Over 10 years in this game. So Nick, this guy he's got the humidor the size of the wall with all the Cubans in it.
It's nice.
Nick calls me the other day and he's like, what was that cigar that you put me onto the other day? So I tell him it was a warped, it's called Warped Cigar by this guy, Kyle Gellis, who's a young entrepreneur. He basically took his company from zero, took it into Nicaragua where there's the best tobacco seed, brings it back, and basically now is on the top 25 for cigars. So I put Nick on, and he goes, Dave, you know what? I'm sorry to say this, man. I used to be the guy when it came to cigars. He's like, now you're the guy to go to. I was like, wow, okay, all right, this is good. But so when you say that,
It's like passing of the torch.
yes, exactly. It was a couple moments that I was able to just think back on and say, damn, some of this shit is working, you know?
So my input to this, and I'm going to use your own thing against you like a Mr. Miyagi move.
Oh, boy.
I would challenge you to do more of it, whether that's using no snooze as like a jump off point, you know, and then you can spin whatever you want off. But like doing it because you already do it. Like you already lived that life, right, CV? Would you agree with that? And it's a very cool, like I've had some meetings with some people and have some ideas for shows that I literally am probably going to pitch and say, like, I have the guy too, if you want to do it. Like, I'll offer you up because it's just like it makes so much sense, not only for your lifestyle, what you enjoy, you actually live that life. I think you didn't try to do this, but your brand and like when people smoke a cigar, I always say this, they want to look like you. Do you know what I mean? Like when I go smoke a cigar, I'm like, oh, I have a beard and tattoos now. CV, you get what I'm saying? Like I know CV agrees with what I'm saying. Because when we smoke cigars with you, like even on the beach in South Carolina, I felt like, how do I put this without gassing you up too much?
Yeah, don't get it.
I felt like that guy.
Turn it red, man. Turn it red over here.
I felt like that guy for a while. And I feel like a lot of people who do smoke cigars are chasing that feeling. And to have someone, and the reason I get influenced a lot, is when that person is something you're like, I want to look like that when I do that action. Like when I see Sadiq Hetzovic, whatever the hell his name is, he lifting weights, I'm like, I want to look like that guy when I'm lifting weights. So I just think it's like a home run. Not to gas CV up either, but like he's got the background in the equipment, in the audio visual. And if he was like reviewing like equipment because he's gadgets, a freaking gearhead, like I would listen to him because he knows his shit. And whenever we get him on that topic, I like to be influenced by that because I'm like, what would you use? You know? And when an organic conversation happens, I would challenge people to think about it and be like, oh, wow, I got really passionate about that. Is there a way I can turn it into something more if I want to?
Right.
I don't want you to do it and then it ruins cigars for you because it's too much of a business. But if you can naturally scratch that itch and get even free cigars from a company and it like morphs into something, I think that's the challenge. When something becomes too business all the time and less passion, I think you got to hit that happy medium. Yeah. That's the sweet spot for influence. Because if it's too much, I want to make money, the influence is less organic. But when it's organic and there's a balance of like, well, go check it out, I get 10%, that's the sweet spot. Right. Or maybe you come out with your own line in the future.
Yeah. I don't know, something to think about. Something that ties, I think, all of this stuff back together is, again, something that I try to be so conscious of at work now specifically, but it's the ability to have complete confidence in what it is that you're doing. When you talk to me about the cigar game, it's effortless because I'm confident. When you talk to me about the gym and what works for me, I live that life, so I'm very confident. Same thing at work.
I don't like how you guys laugh at these jokes. I'm like, it could hit.
But I think the ability to have absolute certainty in what it is that you do really makes a big difference when you're trying to influence others, right? Like I've never had like a coach or if I'm thinking of anybody of influence in my life, be like, well, I don't know if I'm the best person for this job. Like, you know, there's a level of certainty that you need to come with if you're trying to portray your thoughts and ultimately trying to get an outcome out of somebody else. There needs to be an extreme level of confidence. Now, that confidence, though, I don't think that it has to be a my way or a highway all the time. Yep. And something that I think you guys will laugh at, but Tony Robbins, he talks about being insanely persistent yet flexible. So the people who have the most influence and can get people to agree to their terms are, again, insanely persistent yet flexible in their approach, right? But persistence doesn't mean immovable. And I was thinking about you two both because I feel like I was so persistent on trying to get the two of you mother effers to join this wave, right? Is that true? Like I know we've spoke about that.
Wait, you mean to start it or stay with it?
Oh well, to start and stay with it. You know, to stay with it, I think is ultimately that person's decision, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like I felt so passionate and so confident that my persistence level though was through the roof, especially when it came to getting you guys on board, because I knew that you guys represented the teammates and the partners that I had envisioned. So like when I thought about the two people, it was very obvious to me that it was Mike and CV. But you know, they both were a little hesitant at first. So when I read this Tony Robbins thing, I'm like, I think I'd do that. And then even at work, I'm very persistent. I know CV can attest to that for sure. But I do think that I have the ability to remain flexible, right? Like the recordings used to be at my house. Then that became inconvenient for you two. Like, listen, no problem. Like, let's make it work.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that sucked.
Yeah. Whatever works. And now it's the reverse, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
problem driving 45 minutes to make sure that we can accommodate this. So I think if you really are looking for a high level of influence at any level, stick to Uncle Tony Robbins here and be insanely persistent yet flexible in the approach.
I also feel like you took it by the reins. You know, like I didn't really have a vision of what it would be. You know, I knew I could contribute to it. I knew I wanted to work with you guys. But for me, it wasn't so much like I was pushing an agenda, whereas you had the vision and the control in mind, which helped influence us to kind of go along your path. Not that we're not sprinkled in there, obviously, and we're influenced in you, but the majority of it, I think, because you had a direction, you could bring us to that direction, versus if we're just like running around a desert, it's like no one's influenced anywhere. We're just all lost.
Yes. And that's what I think you said sweet spot before, but the sweet spot of influence, I do think is rotational, right? I think at times, at times, you know, there's things that I have to lean on you for influence. There's times I lean on you for influence. And if you're a part of a team, and I do always believe that the team approach is the best approach. I know we've disagreed on this in the past because you want control of everything that you do, but I think you also see now the benefit of having, you know, partners around you. Right.
I think, and we've talked about this off air, I personally feel if you got to have someone leading and like pushing the vision along, because it's possible two people have very similar visions, but it's rare. So I'd rather bet that like, all right, well, someone's going to lead with the vision and then the other two are going to contribute. You can't have two presidents.
Yes, correct.
You know, so like by understanding that and everyone being on the same page with that, it makes everything a lot easier because we're acting more of in support and less strain against each other. So for me in my personal life, like, you know, Dana has a vision, I have a vision. I would say out of everything, I'm really pushing my agenda a little more because she doesn't have a strong feeling against certain things. And I have a very strong feeling of what I want it to be, which it works, right? In my real estate company, when I decide to make the jump, like, yes, the people that I work with, I'm contributing to their vision as well. But my company, there are teammates in 100%, but ultimately it's like what we're going to make it. Majority is going to be the vision that I'm putting out.
Right.
And as long as people understand that and the expectations are met, it can work really well. I struggle with when everyone has different visions and we're all working. You're kind of like pulling each other away from going up. You're just going outward, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But I and this probably goes without having to say it, but I think you do need to be a reflection of what it is that you're trying to influence.
100%.
Right? I think like the worst salesmen in the world are individuals who are trying to push product that they don't use
Don't even mess with.
or push product, or even a not even a physical product, but even a mental product, right? If you're a boss or a leader and you're trying to talk to somebody about, you know, discipline, I don't care if it's kids or adults, and you have no level of discipline in your life, I think your level of influence is going to be extremely low. Right. So I think it's always about looking in the mirror first to make sure that you're living the life that you're trying to influence others to get it. Sometimes it just comes with a job and you have to do things but that's probably not like your career path then, if it's something that you can't really relate to on a personal level. Just things that I'm finding, you know, along the way. My final thing I just want to share, somebody who's definitely influenced my life is Brendan Burchard. Right, and he's just a big, you know, motivational coach. He's pretty much a motivational coach to the highest individuals of influence, if that makes sense. So he's like the best of the best. But he's got this little technique when it comes to influence, and it's called the CUP technique. And CUP stands for connect, uplift, and praise. Right, so all three of those things: connecting with somebody, uplifting them, having the ability to bring them from one level to the next is not possible without the praise, right? So it's connect, uplift, and praise, and it's something that, you know, I constantly try to think about, because if you have no connection to a person, you're screwed. If you don't have the ability to uplift them and get them from one level to the next, you're screwed. And if you don't show any level of praise, why would that person want to be influenced by you? Right, so those are just questions and just things that you can look at in your own life. Got anything else to wrap us up? Because I hate this when this happens, but the Starbucks gets empty. And when this Starbucks is empty,
Bad things happen.
Yeah, bad things happen, you know?
That should be their slogan. Like, you on the camera and just say, when Starbucks gets empty, bad things happen. Just go get your Starbucks refill. Unlimited refills.
There you go.
No, I mean, we hit a lot of topics. It's we talked about it before we started recording. This is probably the most challenging mental time probably of my life. And No Snooze Podcast has really been helpful to get my thoughts out there and think through things and talk to you guys about it. So I appreciate it. And I'm trying to just be more open in general to influence, but not get unfocused. It's life is a yin yang, and I understand it way more now as I get older. But the balance of being open to new things and being influenced, but also sticking on the path, it's a challenge. So, you know, a lot of times you get blown off course. You just got to get back on the path. So that's how I'm thinking through things now.
Very good. No, I like it, man. I've seen extreme growth in all of us when it comes to just, you know, because most men, I think it's almost a, I don't know, but it's almost this societal norm to not speak about certain things and kind of how you're feeling in the moment. It's kind of corny, I guess, for a lack of a better word. And I think we've been able to find a balance specifically between the three of us, this outlet here with the podcast. But it's helpful. You know, it's very helpful to speak on certain things and share certain emotions. It doesn't mean that it's a cry fest all the time. You know, sometimes, you know, I got to shed a tear or two on Mike and CV here, but, you know, for the most part, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So this will bring us to my favorite section, Dave's Dime of the Week.
Sponsored by NoSnoozeshop.com. Dimes.
Good. All right. So this one is by Michael's Uncle Nappy, Napoleon Hill.
Oh, my God. I was so confused that my uncle.
Mike's Uncle Nappy, the big Napoleon Hill. All right. Think twice before you speak, because your words and influence will plant the seed of either success or failure in the mind of another. And especially for us in parenting is big, because it doesn't matter what you say. It's either going to be used in the positive way or the negative way. And it comes out regurgitated right away. I remember saying, "Oh, shit," the other day. Literally looked over at Callie. She's pointing to the TV. "Oh, shit." I'm like, "Oh, God."
It's good usage of it, though.
You know what I did, though? I just ignored it and walked away. Because I'm like, I don't want to give it life. You know, if you give it life, then it just has more life.
Talked about
and
that.
the seed grows and grows and grows.
Hopefully, like my money tree.
That's right. So shout out Uncle Nappy.
Yeah.
All right.
Deals the money tree. Go support. I don't know how. I don't know how to grow this thing. Man. Good episode.
Good stuff.
I need a nap.
All right. Good. See Uncle Nappy? Michael Nappy Pirelli.
I need to nap and do calves.
That's true. All right, so Mikey's going to go nap and do calves. I am going to go refill my Starbucks at the free Lexus dealership. What do you got?
You're the body and now the smoke.
Smoke. I don't know. I got to be careful with that. I don't know.
Right,
how,
all the smoke.
Yeah, it's like be really healthy, but smoke cigars. It's a good balance.
But don't you say like cigars aren't necessarily bad for you?
Well, so scientifically,
Yeah, give me the science.
the big science.
I still don't understand it all.
The big science. There is no link to any sort of
We're
lung
get canceled.
any lung cancer and cigar smoking. Now there has been CV's pointing to his mouth. There has been links to cancer of the mouth when it comes to cigars. However, the percentage is nearly nil, factual,
Oh my God.
for any level of cancer with one cigar per day. That's on the National Cancer Society website or whatever it is.
The thoughts
I'll
and
send it to
opinions
you.
on this podcast are not shared by all members.
So
Disclaimer.
listen, go smoke a cigar, go drink a coffee, go have a little nappy. But until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Thanks for listening.
Are people still listening?
I don't know.
That's another Epi in the books. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at No Snooze Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze.